Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to look at section 2.3 linear functions in slope-intercept form. As I mentioned earlier this year, a lot of what we're going to look at in Algebra 2 this year is different functions and kind of see how they work. We're going to start with a familiar one, linear functions. These are the lines you graphed a lot back in Algebra 1. So we're going to start today with slope, a little bit of review, shouldn't be anything too new. But slope is the ratio, or it's the fraction of the vertical change to the horizontal change between 2 points. We represent it with the variable m. Graphically, it's our rise over run. The formula to find it algebraically is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I'm sure that looks very familiar. So let's look at a couple examples. This is what you're going to see in Delta Math. They're going to ask you what is the slope of the line that passes through the given points. So first thing, I usually do is I kind of label my points. Just remember, points go x, y, like your input and output. And then for your first point, like this is x1, this is y1. And then in our second point, that's like your second x and your second y. So we're just going to plug them into this formula here. So y2 minus y1 goes on the top. So that would be the 3 and the -3. So I do y2, so 3 minus, and then y1 is -3 all over. Then we do our x's. So we do -12 minus -8. x2 minus x1. So then you could either put like the top of this fraction in your calculator or the bottom of this fraction in your calculator, or just be careful if you especially with these negatives, like 3 minus -3, that's really 3 plus 3 because the double negatives turn into a plus. So that would be 6 up top. -12 minus -8, that's really -12 plus 8. That would be -4 on the bottom. So that is our slope, but Delta Math is going to ask that you simplify these fractions. So one tip, if you struggle with this, anytime you have a negative, usually you just want to put it up top. So that would be -6/4. And if you're trying to simplify this by hand, you want to think of a number that divides into both of these. So since these are both even numbers, you could divide the top and the bottom by 2. So if you do that, you would get -3/2. That's what you're going to have to put in Delta Math. If you put -6/4, it's going to get mad at you because you didn't simplify your fraction. If you struggle to simplify fractions, you can always use your calculator. You could type in -6 ABC4. The only problem is your calculator is going to give you an answer like this. It's going to say 1u1/2. That means like 1.5. So to make your like, if you don't remember how to change that to a single fraction, sorry, it'd be negative. You take your you can press the second button and then the ABC button, and it will convert it into -3/2. So if you have questions about this when you're trying to simplify fractions, ask me. But your calculator can do it for you, or I can kind of give you a refresher how to do it by hand. So what I want you guys to give a try, I want you to try this second example, see if you can find the slope between these 2 points. All right, assuming you gave that a try, remember if you label these points, you got x1, y1, like your first x, your first y, then you got your second x, your second y. So if you plug this into our formula, you should have had -5 minus 4 on the top, all over 9 minus 9. So if you put this in a calculator, or just kind of work this out, -5 minus 4 on top would be -9. 9 minus 9 on the bottom is 0. This is a very special example. If you ever get 0 on the bottom of one of these problems, that means your slope is undefined. You can't divide by 0. Like if you put that in your calculator, like -9 ABC0, press enter, it's going to tell you like domain error, I believe is what it says, or it will say like undefined, or some kind of error message will pop up. But you can't ever have 0 on the bottom of a fraction, because if you divide by 0, it doesn't work. Like if you're trying to split something into 0 parts, what exactly does that mean? So you can never have division by 0. All right, the second thing we're going to look at today is graphing a line when given in slope-intercept form. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Very familiar looking, I'm sure. Keep in mind the m is your slope in this formula. The b in this formula is your y-intercept. If you don't remember, the y-intercept is where it intercepts or where it crosses or intersects the y-axis. So when you're graphing a line, we have an example, y equals -2/3 x minus 1. The first step when you graph these lines, you always want to start with your y-intercept. So you always start with your graph. You want to plot your y-intercept. So since this is our y-intercept is -1 in this problem, you start down. You're going to put your first point down at -1. If you look at our, if you look at our equation, our m, or the coefficient of our x, is -2/3. So remember, that's your rise over run. So since it's negative up top, that means you're going to go down 2. And then on the bottom, it's +3. So you're going to go to the right 3. Pretty much you'll always be going to the right. Don't go to the left unless there's like a very specific reason to do so. But from this point we plotted, we're going to go down 2 and then right 3. Like so, down 2, right 3. So it'd be at 3, -2. And then delta math's going to connect these for you, like when you're doing the section. But keep in mind, if you're doing this by hand on paper, sometimes you want to get some extra points. So you could go like down 2, right 3 again. And another kind of tip, if you ever need to get points going the opposite direction, like we're going down to right 3. So if I want to get more points like over here, you do the opposite. So instead of going down 2, I go up 2. Instead of going right 3, I go left 3. So like, see, for example, I would go up 2, left 3 if I want to get some more points. Oops, I miscounted there. If I want to get some more points going the opposite direction. But then just connect these the best you can. That's your answer. So you'll have a couple sections in Delta Math practicing these, but should be some good practice from what you've seen before.